morning, boys and girls, and welcome to podcast number 17 of I'm Frank and he's Tommy. We've got a great show today, but we're going to try and be a wee bit more structured. We've been looking at the comments, many comments. Thanks for your kind, constructive comments on the YouTube channel. But some of you have been saying it does go all over the place. We've not got very good structure. So we're going to try and structure. There's three areas we're going to touch on today. We're going to talk about some of Frank's exploits at Ibrox, scoring goals for Celtic, something that all Celtic supporters would love to be able to say they've done. This man has done it, and he's done it several times as well over his 113 goals for Celtic. So legend Frank McGarvey will be talking about some of his exploits. We're also going to talk about some of the signings that Ange has made. We're going to look at a wee bit of a review, pound for pound, it's the best value signing that Ange has made. And then in the final part of the show, we're going to try and only go for 30 minutes a day, because sometimes we go into extra time and it's difficult to keep everybody's attention. We're going to review the big game, the Glasgow derby on Sunday at Ibrox. I would say it's a the title defining game if Celtic win, because if Celtic win, the game's over. I think we'll win the title. However, we'll get Frank's comment on that. Before I introduce you, Frank, I have to say your status has changed since we last had a discussion. Believe it or not, this man is now qualified for his bus ticket. He's now an OAP.
I've got my bus ticket.
Oh, did you have that already?
I got that at 60.
Ah, Jesus, there you go. I should know these things.
Tommy, you said you were going to do your homework today.
I know. I'm getting flunking. I'm flunking already. But on the 17th of March, this man turned 65 years of age.
66.
66? You
were
already an OAP then?
You get your pension at 66.
There you go.
So once you're a pensioner.
So he was already a pensioner.
So you start getting money off the government.
Well, I don't think you look a day over 65.
Well, yeah, I think you're right.
Listen, Frank, for preparation, for homework, I was watching some of the videos of you displaying your talents at Ibrox. I couldn't. Sometimes when you watch these YouTube videos, they've not got all the information you're looking for. So I want you to talk me through one game in particular, because it was quite significant, because it's probably one of the fastest goals that was ever scored in a Glasgow derby, and it was by a debutant called Ali McCoy. Some people might have heard of him, and he scored after 27 seconds, and probably thought he was going to have a dream debut.
Yeah. Until
you snuffed it out, because you turned the 1-0 deficit into a 2-1 victory, and you scored the winner that day. Can you remember, was that an Ibrox or was that a Parkhead game? I can't tell.
I think I can't really.
I think it was Ibrox. I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong.
I think Paul McStay.
Wally McStay made his debut that day. Paul McStay had a beautiful dribble and passed it through, and you finish uncharacteristically with your left foot.
No, I could score with both my feet. That helped me make me the player I was. When I was 12, I practiced with my left foot all the time, up to now. And I'm as good with my left foot as my right foot. I would say that shooting from outside the box, I'm better with my left foot, because I go slower through it. The slower and the timing is all important. And Paul McStay got the ball, beat a few guys. Paul McStay he made me a lot of goals, and I have to thank him for that. But he slipped it inside to me, and I was in the inside right position, 25 yards, and I just thought, my left foot, keep it low. Peter McCloy's in goals. If I hit it right, it's a goal. And I hit it beautifully right in the bottom corner. And that day also, I got injured before half time, and I had a bandage on, and Brian Scott wanted to take me off at half time. Billy McNeil said, just come off, you can't play. I had a dead arm, and I could hardly run because of this dead arm. And I scored, and I held my arm with the bandage up in the air and went over to the Rangers fans just to let them know, you can hurt me, but I'll still score against you.
Brilliant.
And I loved that, and that was the sorest pain I ever had in all my life, was holding that, and that was just a magical day.
Fabulous. I mean, listen, that's the type of spirit, and that's the type of determination we're going to need on Sunday, because this, let's make no mistake about that, this is going to be a cauldron of hatred. The fans will create that, unfortunately. They'll sing their bigoted songs and they'll create an atmosphere of hate. And on the pitch, I've got to say, I think Rangers will be very physical. I think they'll play their big physical players, and I think they'll try and kick us off the park. They'll try and stop us playing football. So guys like you who went through that, you mean you had that experience. I think John McClellan was playing against you in that particular game, who wasn't he slow to give you a wee kick now and again, was he? And yet you came through it and you scored and we won the game.
Yeah, I think it's very important. You know, when I walked out in any Old Firm game, there's a few guys that you look at in your team, like say Roy Aitken and Danny McGrain. When I walked out at Ibrox, you know, I was looking for other players. David Proven as well had a lot of bottle, and I would be looking at players that would get me through the game, and my team, and Danny McGrain, Roy Aitken, David Proven, they were all winners. So the other team were great, but they three, especially for me, when I looked at them, I said to myself, we've got a chance today.
You've mentioned two guys in particular, and it's important you've mentioned them, because when I was looking at some of your goals against Rangers last night on YouTube, one of them, I'm pretty sure this was your first Celtic against Rangers game at Parkhead, and this is the one where Big Roy Aitken looks as though he's chasing a lost cause. The ball's going out, he sprints, puts his foot on it, then has to turn round and from the goal line puts in a cross, and goodness, you rose like a salmon and you headed it down.
Yeah. Because
Big Peter McCloy was in goals.
Yes.
You perfect textbook header.
Yes.
And I believe that was your first goal for Celtic against Rangers.
But I think I told you the story before, but I was under a lot of pressure because I just played 2 games. The week before we played St Mirren and I had a bad game. I was just signed for Celtic, I went up for Liverpool. Now, I never even had a chance to do anything, look for houses, and then and Desmond White wanted me to play because it would bring in an extra 5,000 people. I was amazed at that, but that's what happened, and they made extra money, and good luck to them. But I was under a lot of pressure because John Clark, who was a brilliant person, but after the game he did say to me, Frank, the ink on your contract's not dried yet. And he was a nice guy, and he told me nicely that I had a bad game against Man. So we played against Hibs on the Saturday. Again, after the game, he said the ink's not dry yet, Frank, on their contract. And all the players were laughing, they loved it, and I was sitting with my head down because I knew I had another bad game. We played Rangers, my third game for Celtic, we played Rangers on the Wednesday night, and they just kicked lumps at each other, so we did in that game. It was nothing each. Roy Aitken, as you says, he ran up, backheeled it and crossed it to me, and I always headed, when I played for St Mirren, I always headed the ball down against Peter McCloy, and I headed it down, and that's the fastest that I've ever ran in my life to the jungle to go like that. And then after the game, the next morning, we were all sitting, and John was sitting in the dressing room, and I said, John, can I ask you a question? He said, aye, what? I said, is the ink dried yet? He said, yes, Frank, the ink's dried.
And you know, that was with 4 minutes to go.
4 minutes.
I was listening to the commentary, 4 minutes to go. And then, ironically or spectacularly in terms of the fate of things, the next goal it showed was a Davy Proven cross from the right hand side. It was a free kick.
Header.
And what a lovely glancing header you put in. 4 minutes to go. He scored again.
What one was that?
I think
that was...
Or was it 17 minutes to go?
No.
Sorry, I'm getting this mixed up because there was 2 4 minutes to go ones. I think the Paul mixed.
4-2.
You did, but you were 2-0 down.
We were 2-0.
At half time.
Can I tell you something about that game? Now, I think fans know things, right? Now, we were getting beat 2-0 from Rangers, and we went out, and the whole Celtic end was singing. Now, we're getting beat 2-0 at Ibrox. The whole Celtic end is singing. They know we're going to win the game. I don't know how they knew that. They're singing. The Rangers fans were silent. And I was like that. I said to Big Roy, I think I said, yeah, what's all that about, Roy, there? As if we're going to win the game. And Big Roy said, aye, we're going to win the game. And we went and we won.
Fantastic.
We scored 4 goals at Ibrox at the Celtic end to win 4-2. But Dundee United won the league that day.
I know, that was the only problem.
The game on the Wednesday night before that game, it was 1 each. No, we were going to beat 1-0 with Dundee United, and we attacked and attacked and attacked, and all we needed was a draw. But we got the goal, and then we attacked and attacked and attacked, and Dundee United strode away in the final minute to beat us 2-1. If we'd have got a draw that day, that game would have meant we'd have won the league at Ibrox.
Oh, that's the margins, isn't it? Tiny margins.
Yeah, and it was unfortunate. But we should, at 1 each, we should have. Hindsight's a great thing. At 1 each, we should have just said, "We'll take the draw. Thank you very much."
Hindsight makes us all brilliant managers and brilliant players, doesn't it? But listen, I'm just delighted, Frank, to be able to share the podcast with you, because there are very few podcasts you watch where it's actually guys that have not just talked about doing it, but have actually done it, and done it several times. You've scored at every end at Ibrox and Parkhead, and apparently, I mean, I'm searching, I can't find a definitive answer. But if there is anybody else that's done it, then it's very few.
I think Ali McCoy might have done it. Larson might have done it. I don't know. But to score at the Rangers end at Ibrox is probably the hardest thing to do, because Rangers are at home and things, and that's where all the fans are. So that's probably the hardest. But that day, as I said, I scored that goal, and in my left hand, I put my left hand up in the air, and my bandage was on it just to show the Rangers fans I can still score even if you injure me, And I loved doing that to the Rangers fans, and I think they enjoyed, that I'd done it as well.
Do you know, that story's reminded me of another story that I've meant to tell you, and I have to tell you this before we go on, because I was speaking recently to Martin Riley. Martin is Neil Lennon and Scott Brown and James Forrest's football agent, and Martin's a big fan of yours, huge fan of yours.
I wish he was with me when I was trying to get contracts.
I tell you what, you probably be in a better position financially and everything else. However, that's irrelevant. You've got the love of your family and your friends. You can't buy that. However, this is the point. He said, Martin and his family and his late father were very friendly with Jimmy Johnstone, and they lived in the same area, and they socialised together. And he relays a story. He actually says he wants to come on and discuss it in the podcast. Hopefully we'll get him on in a future podcast. But he says that he was talking to Jimmy Johnstone one day, talking about Celtic players, Celtic forwards, and he says that you were the real deal. He says Frank McGarvey was the real deal. He went on to say players like Nicholas and others get loads of publicity, but without Frank McGarvey there'd have been nothing. So, I mean, what? And it was when you did the left hand up there, I remember the iconic picture of wee Jimmy. I'm sure it was at Ibrox after he scored.
He scored with his left foot.
That's right. That's right. And then he put the left hand. But the point I'm making is, what an honour to be given that accolade for, I think, Celtic's greatest ever player, Jimmy Johnstone.
He's definitely Celtic's greatest entertainer. I've no doubt about that. I love watching Jimmy Johnstone, and he scored goals
all the time.
But he wasn't a good crosser of the ball. He's a winger, and I'll never forget the game in Madrid. Was it in Madrid that he played in a testimonial? The Stefanos, and he was beating all the Real Madrid players, and nobody would go and try and tackle him. I always remember that. I went, wow. Nobody can get the ball up. That's the best team in the world, and nobody can get the ball off Jimmy Johnstone. I thought that was just sensational. So it was that Jimmy could do that, and I was quite friendly with Jimmy as well. He came, we had parties in my house in Mennock Road and Kings Park a lot after games, and Jimmy was at most of them. And one of the best nights I ever had, we just won the 1980 Cup final. And I love Bobby Murdoch and I love Jimmy Johnson, Kenny Dalglish. And about 11:30, the door went, and I was always worried in case there was other people trying to get into the house. I locked all the doors, and I went to the front door, and my three favourite players, Bobby Murdoch, Jimmy Johnson, and Kenny Dalglish, had a carry out and said, "Is there any chance we can come in? Is there any chance we can come into the party?" And I said, "Who yous? Kidding on?" And I gave them a big cuddle each. I love the three of them, big cuddle each. Now they're sensational times.
Yeah,
your three best players coming up to your house,
Fabulous.
asking if they can come into the party, and you give them a big cuddle. That's one of the best moments in my life as well. Playing for Celtic, I had about 50 unbelievable moments, and that's just a wonderful, wonderful life to live.
Fabulous, mate. Listen, you've led. I know there's been ups and there's been downs. I mean, you've documented them yourself. You've chronicled them yourself in your book in 2009. So we won't necessarily go there. But the point is, you've got a beautiful family, beautiful children. And you've got those memories which, quite frankly, are gold-laden memories. They're just beautiful memories. So I'm jealous of you in some respects, Frank, because I would love to have done what you've done. I'd have loved to have ran out and scored one. Well, I wouldn't have scored winning goals because I couldn't score goals, but I'd have loved to have made saving tackles and I'd have loved to have been the Roy Aitken of your team, putting in the crosses and things like that. But you've seen me play, so you know I couldn't.
When you played, Tommy, and had the ball, I just went and hid because I wasn't getting it.
Anyway, listen, let's move on. Let's move on to this question. I've asked you to think about it. Pound for pound, Ange has brought in, I'm trying to keep track with it, I think it's about 14 players. When I'm checking the prices, sometimes you're not sure whether you're getting the right information because there are different prices according to what paper you're reading. However, he's brought in at least 14 players, and I would say they've transformed. I mean, it's not I would say they have transformed Glasgow Celtic this season. What would you say, pound for pound, best value signing that Ange has made?
I think the goalkeeper is a very, very important signing. You must get a guy that's experienced, that can organise the defence, and I think he's got Joe Hart. I think he's a very, very good goalkeeper, but he's getting the defence sorted out as well, and he's not letting in as many goals as he was at the start of the season. But I think he's been brilliant. So I think it's important that Celtic don't lose goals, and if you don't lose goals, you'll never get beat. It's as simple as that, and I think that's very important.
It's a difficult question, Frank, isn't it? Because as you said to me when we were discussing this on the phone, you then mentioned Kyogo and the goals that he scored. I mean,
Kyogo is a brilliant player when he's out there. He scores goals. He's sensational. But when I went down to Liverpool from St Mirren, I asked Bob Paisley. I said, "What's the best things about me that you like?" He said, "Frank, you're never injured."
Right. Okay.
Now, so Bob Paisley's bought me to St Mirren knowing I'm never injured. Now, Kyogo is a brilliant player. There's no doubt about that. But he's injury prone.
I'm not sure that I agree with you yet, because
How long has he been injured?
Yeah, but I think one injury doesn't make you injury prone. That's what I'm saying. He said one hamstring injury. He came back too soon. We rushed him back. We needed him, and he then worsened an injury he already had. So I don't think that makes him injury prone. If in the course of the next 6-7 months he gets injured again, then we can discuss that. So I think pound for pound he's been a fantastic signing.
Right, okay, right. Can I ask you how long he's been out?
Now, I would say, well, his last game was just December, January, wasn't it? December, January, wasn't it?
January. So that's a long time.
Sorry, it was December, wasn't it? Because he scored against, or he played against St Johnstone. And
So
then
why is he not fit? If you've got a hamstring strain, it takes you 2 weeks to get rid of it, and then a week. Hamstrings.
I don't think it's a strain, Frank. It's not a strain. It's a tear, and it's
And if he's got
a quite significant tear as well.
He's got to rest and heal it,
Well,
and then once it's healed, he's got to give it another week, 10 days, and then start training.
Well, apparently he is back training now. I think he might even be full training now, because he was light training last week and hopefully full training this
now
week.
because his car has been seen up at Lennox.
Well, there you go. There you go. I'll make a prediction. I think he might be on the bench on Sunday.
Well, if he's on the bench, he should be playing.
No, I don't think so. I'll tell you why. Right, look, I'm going to...
If you're injured, you shouldn't be on the bench.
No, I'll tell you what I'm going to say to you, because that question I've asked about the pound-to-pound best value, you could go all around the houses. I think there have been very few failures as far as Ange is concerned. And I see you mentioned Liam Shaw and even Urugise. Liam Shaw was on a contract, so he was signed before Ange comes in. I think Urugise's probably signed before Ange comes in, so I'm going to discount those two. All of the other signings, I think, have made an impact so far, a positive impact.
Can I just say one thing? The one player that I really rate is James McCarthy, and he's done nothing for Celtic so far.
Well, there you go. Okay.
And I have to look at the good and then the bad, and I thought he would have come in and played the midfield and organised that team about him, and he's not done that.
Here's a question mark, and I don't know the answer. Was he an Ange signing? Right? Was he? Now, I know he was signed while Ange is the manager.
I don't think so.
Well, I've got some doubts about it. I think that guy has been a fantastic player. I'm a bit reluctant to suggest that we've got the best of him yet, because we've not seen the best of him.
The money that he's getting is amazing.
Well,
and I'm sure we could have got another player, maybe in 22, 21, who's got a long lifespan ahead of him to pay that kind of money, not for an older player.
30 years of age. Okay, well, that's a fair point. The interesting issue in terms of pound for pound, I think Starfelt has now began to prove us all right in terms of Ange's reasons for buying him. I think he's bought him because he is a good centre-back, good reader of the game, good tackler, aggressive. I think the loan signing of Carter Vickers has been phenomenal success. I think he's a great centre-back. In terms of, you look at Jota as a loan signing, fantastic. Leal Abada, okay, 4 million is quite a lot of money. I think it was 3.5 million, quite a lot of money. But goal return, absolutely tremendous. But the reason I've raised the question in some respects, Frank, is I'm going to put my neck on the line and say that pound for pound, I think his best signing has been Juranovic. I think Juranovic, the right back, has been a revelation. I think he is just class.
Yeah, I would agree with you that, but I'm beginning to like Miada. I think his work rate's good, and he's wanting to make runs in behind defences. Now that's the trick. If you can go a shallow run and then go in when the ball's hit, that's the way to go in behind defences. And he's doing it to 50%. I would love to get a hold of him for a week and show him exactly what to do there. Because even although he's a good centre forward and all that, these wee things he needs to know. But I think his work rate, his running in behind the defences, he's scoring goals, and he's a threat, because when he goes in behind the defence, that defence has to go back more, so that means that you have more room in front of a defence where attacking players can go into. Now, that's very important to have that kind of player, and Kyogo does that as well, but you can't have the two of them playing together. Well, I played with Charlie Nicholas. He went short, took defenders short, and then had big holes to go into. Now, that's what you want. You want a guy who comes short and want to go in behind. And defences find that hard to deal with.
Well, I'll tell you, it's an exciting conundrum that we've got now. And that is a fully fit squad. Who's your starting 11? Because whereas in December when we talked there about Kyogo's last game, you were scraping the barrow, and I was thinking now that you should be taking your boots because you might have got a game, because the pool was so light. Now we've got a situation where you're going to have to leave out, I would say, international class players on the bench because we don't have enough room on the park to fit everybody in. But final few minutes, Frank, final few minutes. Who starts on Sunday at Ibrox?
Well, you're saying who starts. What I want to say is that what he's got to do is get a team together and keep that team. So he's got to look at the players he's got, and he's got to keep that team. Now, Dundee United and Aberdeen had the best defensive records in Europe. We're talking about Europe, Barcelona and all these, because they played the same defence for 5, 6, 7 years. They played the same defence, and that's why Aberdeen and Dundee United, small teams in European football, the two of them got into European Cup finals, and Aberdeen won one
Frank,
of them.
I need to interrupt you because you're in danger of doing what you always accuse me of doing, and that is no answering the question.
Right, I'm just right.
You know what I mean?
I'm very
you know,
sorry,
you're becoming a politician.
Right. What I'm trying to say to you is Ange has to keep the same team together.
So they won 4-0 against Ross County last game out. Should they start with the same 11?
Why not? 4-0, brilliant. Ross County have been very good. In the
Front
last
three.
season.
Front three was Jota, Guacamakis, and Maeda.
Yeah, I would go with them.
Yeah. I actually agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
His back five was Hart, Juranovic, Starfelt, Vickers, and Taylor.
And he's starting to play them up together all the time. That's good. They will then.
So we're agreeing to that five.
Yeah, well, definitely,
Right.
definitely.
Here's the only problem I've got is your middle three, right? Your midfield three. He started with McGregor, Hatate, and Rogic, right?
Very. He's going to have to defend against Rangers.
Well, this is my own. I think he will probably do the same. I think, and assuming Rogic has recovered from the horrendous tackle that he received against Ross County and the deserved red card that the guy got for it, assuming he's fit, fully fit, I think he'll go the same midfield. But there is a wee sneaky suspicion in me, or a wee gnawing question, and that is: should we start with Beaton in the middle, McGregor on the left, and Rogic or O'Reilly to give us a wee bit of creativity? The reason I'm saying that is Hatate, McGregor, Rogic doesn't give as much physicality at Ibrox, where I think they're going to be very physical. Should we therefore start with Beaton, give us that wee bit of height, give us that wee bit of physicality, and allow McGregor to get a wee bit further forward?
I would go with Beaton. Rogic's a brilliant player, there's no doubt about that, but we need somebody a bit harder at Ibrox to try and control the midfield and settle the team. You know, the goals will come. We've got players up front that can score goals, so the goals will come. We need to defend a wee bit more in that midfield.
Well, I agree, right? But it's dead marginal. Dead marginal, right? And if he announces the same team, I'm going to be applauding him and saying, well done. And I think that team that beat Ross County could beat Rangers. That's what I think.
But you're talking about, I know you're saying, oh, that team can beat Rangers, but you're talking about other things coming into it. Bottle, Ibrox, Rangers, full house, no Celtic fans?
They reckon there's supposed to be 700, and there is a debate about whether the fans should take the tickets or not.
They've got to take the tickets.
Well, I'm probably of the same ilk, Frank. Again, it's one of the marginal things. You could argue both ways, but is it no better to have 700 singing our tunes and giving support to the club than none? I'd probably take what I'm being offered and then fight for more, but is that what you think?
Well, I think the Celtic supporters are so important to Celtic players at Ibrox. When I used to walk out at Ibrox and the big roar for the Celtic end, I went, oh, that's brilliant. The roar was amazing. There was only a quarter of the stadium filled with Celtic supporters, and that roar, I would be like that. I would be looking at Roy Aitken, Danny McGrain, we've got a chance now. I'd be looking at Celtic supporters roaring. And I went, we have got a chance now. Look at that Celtic support. And that's what the players need, as much Celtic supporters. Celtic supporters are very, very important to what happens with Celtic, how they can win games and how they can lose games. So for me, the supporters, the Celtic supporters, and all they have to do is sing 4 times as much as Rangers fans, and they'll soon hear them.
Brilliant. Let's wind up the show this morning. I'm getting my wee alarm telling me I have to wind up because it was set for only 30 minutes. I hope you've enjoyed listening to the podcast. I hope that we next meet soon and we've got big smiles on our faces because we've went to Ibrox and we've either won or we at least haven't lost. And if we do that, I think the next podcast we'll be talking about how many points we're going to win the league by. That's how big a game I think it is. But boys and girls, brothers and sisters, thanks for tuning in to the podcast. Please share it with your friends and fellow supporters. And bear in mind that when this guy's talking, he's not talking like you or I do about what we would have loved to have done. He's talking about what he did do over his career with Celtic and the 113 times he netted for the Hoops. Very proud to have you on board, Frank. It's fantastic to do the podcast with you. See you next time.